Hey everyone, welcome back to the R Stories. I know many of you use these videos to unwind and drift off to sleep, and I'm so glad to be part of a nighttime routine. Before you settle in, I'd love to hear where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're enjoying the episodes, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. Now relax, get comfortable, and let's begin. Next story. Am I the asshole for secretly recording my professor making sexist remarks and getting him fired? I, 26 male, am in my final year of university, and I had a professor, Dr. R, who always made weird, borderline inappropriate comments. At first, I thought he was just old-fashioned, but over time, I realized he was blatantly sexist. It started subtly. He would call on male students more often and dismiss female students' answers as lucky guesses. But as the semester went on, his comments became worse. He once said in class, "Women just are not as naturally gifted in logic-based subjects." And another time when a girl asked a question, he laughed and said, if female students spent less time worrying about their looks and more time studying, maybe they would get better grades. Whenever we had a difficult topic, he would smirk and say, "This might be a little hard for the girls, but do not worry. Just smile at your lab partners, and they will help you out." Then one day, he completely crossed the line. A girl in my class wore a tank top because it was hot outside. Nothing inappropriate, just normal summer wear. He paused the lecture and said, "Wow, dressing like that for extra credit? Bold strategy." Some people laughed awkwardly, but the girl looked mortified. She barely spoke for the rest of the class. That was when I decided to start recording. Over the next few weeks, I captured multiple instances of him making sexist comments. The worst was when he joked that women should focus on easier fields because STEM was too stressful for them. That one really pissed me off because there were girls in the class working their asses off, and he was acting like they did not belong there. I compiled everything and submitted it anonymously to the university's disciplinary committee. They launched an investigation, and within a month, Dr. was fired. Now, some of my classmates, mostly the guys, are pissed at me. They say I ruined a man's career over a few jokes, and that I should have just ignored him. But a lot of the female students have thanked me, saying they've been uncomfortable in his class for years. So, am I the asshole for recording my professor and getting him fired? Commenter 1. Good for you. That took guts. Those guys complaining are probably the same ones who laughed along with him. When I was in college, I was a business major, and you have to take one class from each of the different disciplines: accounting, management, marketing, and information systems. In the information systems class, the professor, an Indian male gentleman, stated that women never do well in his class and are not capable of specializing in information systems. Game on, motherfucker. I graduated with 5 job offers, started a coding help desk, and took all my classes with other professors. Anytime I was asked about my success in the program, I publicly stated it was because I did not take any of his classes. Those who laughed were enabling his behavior. They likely have not experienced the discrimination that female students face, so they cannot get it. Be careful that they do not later on name an award after him. Fuck you, Dr. Conklin at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. You counted off 5 points for women and 2 points for men in your engineering thermodynamics classes. Commenter 2. He ruined his own career by his own stupidity. Maybe the men who were pissed that you were concerned about their grades, as your professor was probably giving them more leeway than the women. You did the right thing. I'm old enough to be your mom, and I would be incredibly proud of you. Not the asshole. Seriously, this man has a PhD. He is a professor at a college university in 2025. He should know better. I'm not even saying he should not be a sexist bigot. He just should not be so fucking stupid. I had a professor who took a piss in a bottle while a girl was giving a presentation. The lights were off, and he was in the back, but still. People, man. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. I am a woman who majored in biochemistry. I had a professor just like this. It was horrible for the few women in the class. We learned early on that if we had a question, we had to ask one of the guys to ask it. Otherwise, we were just told to read the textbook or that we should have paid attention. Meanwhile, the guys would get a full answer. What you did helped save multiple people's careers. Just think how many people left their major because of this professor. Think about how many people would have changed their major if they were forced into his class. I truly wonder how many women's grade point averages got screwed over by this guy. On behalf of all of us, thank you. You did the right thing. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. He got himself fired. With you submitting anonymously, how did people know it was you? OP, my best friend was cursing the person who got him fired in front of me. I told him it was me, and he told this to everyone around. You spelled ex-best friend wrong. The only asses in this story are your best friend for telling everyone and the professor. Commenter 5. Nah, that dude got himself fired. Good riddance 2. Thank you for cleaning out the trash on behalf of humans everywhere. Imagine being so arrogant that you do not know your students have video phones at all times. Lord have mercy. Commenter 6. Oh, fuck him and everyone that is blaming you. He got himself fired. That behavior should not be tolerated in any form. I wonder if the men would feel differently if he spent half the time talking about how much easier men had it. Not because they are smarter, but because people assume they should be in the STEM field. Now, men, you are probably a bunch of morons. This seriously pisses me off. Nobody should be defending that bullshit. Commenter 7. I'm having a really tough time believing this is real. I had a professor make blatant insults against any religion that was not Christ-based. A bunch of us went to the administration with in-class recordings we made, and they said, everyone is allowed an opinion at this university, and if you do not like what your teacher says, you are welcome to drop the class. Which we could not actually do at that point in the semester without getting FS. Plus, if the professor in this story has tenure, then it is really unlikely they were fired this quickly. Next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to help my best friend with her wedding because she didn't make me a bridesmaid? My best friend, 24, female, whom we will call May, and I, 24, female, have been close since middle school. We have talked about being in each other's weddings, so when she got engaged last year, I assumed I would be a bridesmaid. She recently asked me to help with the wedding planning, but when she showed me the list for her bridal party, I was not on it. I asked why, and she got awkward and said she had to make some choices. The party included her sister, her fiancé's sister, and a few newer friends she has known for a couple of years. She wanted a small party. I did not want to make a big deal, though. I congratulated her and figured I would still be a guest. But then she started asking me for a lot of help. Things like dress shopping, do-it-yourself decorations, venue hunting, making party favors, etc. I finally told her, hey, I love you, but I feel weird doing all of this when I'm not even a bridesmaid. She got angry and said that she thought I would still want to be involved because we were best friends. I told her I would still be at the wedding, but I was not going to do all of this extra work when she did not even consider me close enough to be in her bridal party. Now she and some of our mutual friends are giving me the cold shoulder, saying I am being petty and making the wedding about me. But I'm not going to be doing bridesmaid-level work if I am not one. Am I the asshole? Commenter 1. Hey, I love you, but I feel weird doing all of this when I'm not even a bridesmaid. She got angry and said that she thought I'd still want to be involved because we're best friends. Not the asshole. She wants free labor from you. She is trying to enlist your help because her bridesmaids probably have either already said no, even though that is their job, or because she does not want to burden them with the menial tasks she wants to dump on you. That she got angry when you stood up for yourself speaks volumes. Good on you for not letting her use you. Yeah, she is definitely trying to use the original poster. Does not sound like much of a best friend. Original poster, you might think she is your best friend, but she definitely does not think you're her best friend. It is the whole, you're my best friend, I thought you'd want to be part of my wedding. So manipulative. It is just gross. And who exactly does she think should be her maid of honor if the original poster is her best friend? And who has the role of primary helper to the bride? The bride sounds like some sort of social climber who is trying to leverage the positions of honor in her wedding for clout. Yep, she probably shit-talks the original poster to the cool girls she has asked to be bridesmaids. Commenter 2. It is hard to get over the feeling of being replaced by new and fresh friends. But friendships fluctuate. It is very possible that she does not feel you would mesh that well with her new friends. That makes her suck, not you. You have every right to step back from having to do all her bidding. And if anybody says anything to you about it, just remind them that there are several others in her wedding party that should support the bride. When my sister married my brother-in-law, I was excluded from the wedding party. She referred to me as her personal attendant, which was her way of getting me to do all the work but not be included in the wedding itself. I figured at the very least I would be named in the wedding program. Nope, nothing. I did all the running, babysat her kids during the whole ceremony, helped decorate and clean up, and even took her kids while she went on her honeymoon. When the pictures were taken, she created her wedding album from her favorites. I was not in a single one. It was then that I realized we just were not very close. I was very bothered by it, I will admit. But when I got married, I excluded her from my wedding party. Of course, I'm married at City Hall, so it was not that blatant. However, I was conversing with my sister and cousin one time about 10 years ago during my cousin's bridal shower. She asked about my sister's wedding, and I just answered, "Oh no, we're not very close at all." My sister's mouth dropped open. I have only one sister. Yes, we are. I turned and looked at her. No. If life gives me hardships, you would be the last person I would look to for a shoulder. You do not even know who I am. Since then, she has changed. She has worked hard for it, too. We now go on vacations every year, and we call each other regularly. That is such a beautiful resolution. I am so glad she realized it. Did you ever talk about her excluding you from the wedding and her reasoning? It is nice to see a happy resolution / ending to something hurtful like that. I cannot believe she was totally unaware of how she treated you and how you must have felt during her wedding and whatnot. But some people are totally oblivious and have no clue because they only think about themselves all the time. I'm glad your sister saw she was in the wrong and has worked to mend the relationship instead of just getting mad and refusing to admit it like most stories you read here. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. She chose her new friends over you. If the bridal party was strictly family, it would be one thing, but she wants you to do all the work for her without actually being a part of the gown shopping and hair and makeup. That is extremely hurtful and would make me rethink the friendship and even attending the wedding. The fact that they are cold-shouldering her for not doing unpaid labor means she has told others that the original poster is not providing unpaid labor, which is unconscionable. I agree. I will not go either. When the invitation comes, I might write sorry, I won't be there. I plan to be sick that day and send that right back to her. What do you have to lose? A crappy friendship that is not a friendship. It seems pretty clear that the original poster values the maid of honor and the bridesmaids and does not want to risk asking them for anything. But she takes the original poster for granted, thinks the original poster will always be there no matter how badly she treats her, and she could do whatever she wants. Bye-bye. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. She does not consider you close by not making you part of the bridal party and just wants you for free labor. That is not a best friend. I would reconsider your entire relationship with this person and maybe find a new best friend. The whole, "I thought you would help out because we are best friends" thing is just straight up manipulative. If you were her best friend, you would be the maid of honor. Commenter 5. Not the asshole. You're supposed to keep these tasks in mind when you choose your bridesmaids. If she chose people she cannot count on, that is her problem. Those who think you are being petty are free to offer their own assistance. Not the asshole. It is her wedding, and if she wants a small wedding party, she 100% gets to have one. But you are a guest, not a bridesmaid, and that means you are not part of the bridesmaid labor pool. She is so off base here that you may end up losing this friendship, but that might not be such a bad thing. Next story. Am I the asshole for not letting my stepdaughter have my late daughter's room? My daughter, Megan, fake names, passed away 2 years ago at 15. Her room has been left mostly untouched, and I keep it clean. I made a few attempts to clean it out, but I stopped pretty quickly. I just feel guilty. Recently, my wife's daughter, Anna, 16, female, asked if she could move into Megan's room because it is bigger and has better lighting. Anna currently shares a room with her younger sister, and I understand that is not really comfortable. I told Anna no and explained that I am not ready to change Megan's room. Anna was disappointed, but seemed to understand. However, my wife is now pressuring me, saying it is unfair that I am prioritizing a shrine over Anna's comfort. She argues that Megan would not have wanted her room to sit empty when someone else could use it. I get her point, but to me, this is not about playing favorites. I am still grieving, and changing Megan's room feels like erasing her. Anna is not being bratty about it, but my wife keeps bringing it up, calling me selfish and unwilling to move forward. I know it has been 2 years, but I do not feel ready yet. My wife says I'm putting my grief above Anna's needs. Am I the asshole? Commenter 1. There is no timeline for grief, but the living people in your life also need your attention. Please seek the advice of a therapist. They can help you honor your daughter while also loving your living family. This is what I wanted to say. You're going through something awful, but do not ignore the needs of others in your life. Is there another space you can make her room? At her age, she does need her own space too, but definitely seek counseling. What if you had to move? Unfortunately, your decision to keep it as is will not be a long-term solution either. Ugh, so sorry. Grief never really goes away, and losing a child never gets easier, but eventually life does move on. I honestly feel letting her have the room is a step in the right direction for you. 2 things can exist at once. You can keep the memory of your child alive while still creating space for your living family. I truly wish you all the best. It reminded me of a movie, The Lovely Bones. What a tragic story. Commenter 2. I get it. I cannot even imagine getting out of bed if I lost one of my children, let alone dealing with this. So you have my complete and utter sympathy. At the same time, grief is a process, and it seems you are not contending with it, and it is having an effect on your family. A family member of my wife lost a son to cancer, and understandably, it devastated her. She went through a deep depression and had entire days when she could not do anything. Finally, one morning, her 6-year-old daughter came into the room with a hairbrush and said, "I do not have cancer, and I need help." From the mouths of children come big truths sometimes. It was the spur she needed to move forward. It is important to recognize the effect your grief is having on others and perhaps find better ways to honor her memory, ways that allow you to grieve without laying the burden of your grief on the shoulders of others. You have not mentioned grief counseling. If you have not taken that step, I think it would be a very good thing if you did. And in the meantime, have honest conversations with your wife, doing as much listening as talking. Finally, one morning, her 6-year-old daughter came into the room with a hairbrush and said, "I do not have cancer, and I need help." Damn, that one hit hard. Yeah, it is my wife's aunt's story. Her daughter is now 40 and still has latent issues with it. It really hits. Last year, I did movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, and learned how to process childhood trauma in a way that takes the sting out of it. Like, I can run a session myself to process trauma. And when I learned, one of the sessions I processed was when I was 6. I was bitten by a bug. I asked my parent for help. They yelled at me for waking them up. Lesson learned, do not ask. Retrospectively, I had nonverbal children who literally cannot ask for help. And I spent years in speech and occupational therapy with them, developing their skills to be able to ask for help and let others know their needs. Karma is kind of crazy sometimes. Commenter 3. When dealing with loss, no one is ever the asshole, especially not for not being ready to change her room, but a 16-year-old girl should have her own room and a right to privacy. Is there any other room that could be changed into a bedroom? Her comfort needs to be considered here. She is still here, and you're also her parent. For your own sake, I would recommend some therapy to help you navigate your grief. I would hate for you to lose your living family because you are unable to move past your grief. Should be the top comment right here. Maybe a renovated basement/attic, or an office that can be moved to one of the aforementioned places. Also, as someone else mentioned, her room is not her, and although none of us can speak for your daughter and her wishes for her room, when you are ready, you can always keep some of her stuff and trinkets around the house and in your car or office. Her presence does not disappear with a bedroom, but it also does not mean you need to pack away all of her things out of sight. Anna is amazing for not openly expressing any discomfort to ensure he is not feeling bad, but I have zero doubts she actually wants her own space. I would not be surprised if Anna is actually the one expressing discomfort to her mom, which is why the mom is fighting so hard. There are a lot of people saying Anna is not suffering and her basic needs are met, but in my opinion, privacy after puberty age is a basic need. Even just temporarily renovating a room that is not used much until he has dealt with his grief enough to be ready to give Anna the room will be immensely beneficial to her. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. But I do think that it might be worth having a conversation or two with a therapist about ways to help you be able to move on. I know that the room is comforting because it reminds you of Megan, but there might be a better way to memorialize her. As for your wife pressuring you, I would love to have her in a few sessions as well, because she is not helping at the moment. I am so sorry for your loss, and I am sending all the love your way. I would even consider co-therapy. I cannot imagine how hard it is to lose a child, and I sympathize with the original poster, but I think the best solution would be to work through it with a specialist. As for the wife, her pressuring is totally wrong and will definitely not fix the situation, so they should both understand each other and work it out together. Commenter 5. I think you need to work through the guilt. Your daughter's memory and legacy are not tied to a space like her room. That is just geography. I do not think you're an asshole, but your wife is not either. She wants the family to be as happy as it can be in its current state, and that does not mean it is the ideal state, which would obviously include your daughter. I think asking her for a specific amount of time and working with a professional to get okay with changing the room and living a full life without guilt would help. No assholes here. Next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my neighbor's vet bill after her unleashed dog got hit by a car? So, my neighbor Lisa is one of those people who thinks rules do not apply to her. A few months ago, she got a husky and from day one, never kept it on a leash. This dog was constantly running loose, digging up gardens, jumping on people, chasing cars, and every time someone told her to control it, she would laugh and say, "Oh, he just loves his freedom." Well, that freedom finally caught up with her. One afternoon, I was walking my dog, on a leash like a responsible owner, when Lisa's husky came barreling toward us. No hesitation, no stopping, just full speed, straight at my dog. My beagle is tiny compared to this thing, so of course he got scared and started barking. Before I could react, the husky lunged at him. It was full-on aggression, snarling, teeth out, trying to pin my dog down. My poor dog was yelping and trying to escape. I was doing everything I could to pull him away when suddenly Lisa's husky turned and bolted straight into the road. And just like that, bam, a car hit him. The driver had no chance to stop. Lisa's dog was running loose, unsupervised, and straight into traffic. Lisa came running out of her house, screaming at me, not worried about the driver, not even acknowledging that she let her dog run wild, just screaming, "This is your fault. Your dog made him run." Excuse me? My fault? Her dog was the one attacking mine. Her dog was the one off leash. Her dog was the one who ran into the street. I had zero control over what happened. She rushed her husky to the vet, and a few days later, she showed up at my door with a $5,000 bill, surgery, medication, everything. And then she actually said, "You need to pay for this since your dog caused it." Yeah, not happening. Look, I feel awful for her dog. I'm really glad she's going to be okay. No animal deserves to go through that, and honestly, I would not wish it on anyone. But at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay, and she's acting like I just have thousands of dollars lying around to clean up her mistake. I try to be understanding, but she is putting everything on me like she had nothing to do with it. And now I hear she has been bad-mouthing me for not helping. I do not know. Am I really in the wrong here? Commenter 1. Not the asshole, but you need to file a police report. Her dog attacked yours, so you can get your vet bills paid by her because, surprise, she was a neglectful owner. Many places have leash and confinement laws, so she is technically breaking the law, depending on the state. Lastly, you need to file a report with animal control. She is literally endangering the dog. It is better to have the dog removed from her care and placed in a safe home than to have her continue having one. I totally agree, especially so they have documentation should Lisa actually try to sue her for the medical bill payment. She sounds like the sort of irresponsible person who could try to do this. Also, for the sake of the dog who is at risk with her, ask neighbors if they happen to have security camera videos of the incident and any previous incidents to show a pattern of stupidity. Commenter 2. There may be a lawyer and a restraining order in your future. She is crazy. I second this, especially the restraining order. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. This woman sucks. I love dogs, but entitled dog owners are really the worst. I had an unleashed dog jump on me while I was on a run in a park, not a dog park, the other day, and the owner just waved it away like it was not a big deal. So frustrating. Commenter 4. I believed it all until and now she is telling the whole neighborhood I am cold-hearted for not helping bit, which is pure regurgitated cut-in paste, karma farming stuff. Commenter 5. Definitely not the asshole. Tell her you're going to be pressing harassment and defamation charges against her if she keeps up with her bullshit, and reporting her to animal control for endangering that dog by letting it run loose, unsupervised, almost leading to its death. Next story. Am I the asshole? My wife got her boobs out on a night out. My friend told me. I said I do not care. It is causing a lot of drama. My wife, 41 female, was on a night out with friends and ended up bumping into a few of my friends while out. They stayed together most of the night, and at one point, they were in the smoking area at the back of a bar and got talking to a couple younger women. One of them mentioned wanting to get her nipples pierced, but was scared of the long-term damage. My wife then said, I've had mine done for 25 years, and there is no damage to them. Do you want to see? The other woman said yes. So my wife turned her back to the crowd behind her so only those around her could see and pulled her top down for what she said, and my friends confirmed, was about 30 seconds. The other woman asked if she could feel them, and my wife said yes. After that, the other woman said she could see and feel there was no damage, and now she is convinced. The next morning, my friend messaged me to tell me what happened. I said I know. My wife told me. He then said she obviously did not tell me the full story because I would be more mad, and then proceeded to tell me the exact same story that my wife told me, laughing out loud. I said I appreciated him looking out for me, but I'm not mad, and I do not really care. Since then, I have had all sorts of messages from friends. Some are telling me I need to leave her. Some are telling me not to listen to others, and they cannot believe all the fuss. Even a couple of friends have said things along the lines of, if you let your wife get away with this, it will encourage my wife to behave like this, like I should punish her or something. It came to a bit of a head yesterday, as a few of us play for the same Sunday league football side. A couple of my friends were joking about it, and one of them said, if I go tell her I want my nipples pierced, will she show me? And I laughed and said, no harm in asking. Then one of my other friends said, she probably will, the slag, and I lost it and went for him. We got pulled apart, but since then, tensions have been quite high, with most people supporting me, but a few saying it is my fault for not seeing the truth and not seeing how bad the situation is. I genuinely do not know what else I could have done differently here. I'm not bothered about it. I really am not, and I do not need people to be offended on my behalf. When we go on holiday, she will be topless all day at the beach where hundreds of people can see her. I cannot believe all the fuss about some nipple piercings. So, am I the asshole for not caring that my wife got her boobs out on a night out? Commenter 1. Your wife showed a piercing, not committed a crime, and your so-called friends are acting like the morality police. If their marriages are so fragile that your wife's free spirit is a threat, that is a them problem, not yours. Opie, thank you. I'm glad I'm not going crazy. If your friends are calling her a slag and other names to your face, they're saying much worse when you're not around. Good on you for standing up for your wife, but you need new friends or friends that at least respect you and your wife. I second this opinion. Your wife did nothing wrong, and it is not anybody else's business to have an opinion on how she behaves. Honestly, if these so-called friends are calling your wife slurs in front of you, they are not your friends or worth the breath it takes to tell them to shut their dirty mouths or scrub their dirty minds clean. I am proud of you for standing up for your wife. Many lesser, more insecure men would have caved to the peer pressure. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. You need new friends. Normal people would recognize that women actually let each other see their breasts all the time for a lot of reasons, and it is pretty normal. If they're making these kinds of comments, then they have never had any respect for her. And this is just an incident that has let the curtain fall on that. That is a really good point. My friend and I went away for the weekend, and she wanted a bra fitting. It was taking ages to find the right fit, and I think she felt bad I was sitting outside on my own, so she asked me to join her in the cubicle. We chatted about where to go for lunch, etc., while the salesperson kept bringing in bras to try on. Girls do see other girls' boobs, and it really is not anything to get upset about. Thank goodness the original poster is not like some of his friends. Yeah, if I see a guy's dick in a shower after golf, my girlfriend is not going to break up with me. I've had a lot of "is this infected?" scenarios as well. Hearing things like this just further reaffirms that men really need to band together and agree that it is okay to seek both mental health and medical attention. It is okay to ask for help from those who are qualified. It is also okay to cry. You're not a pussy for showing emotion. Opie, it is really weird. I do not know where this has come from. They have never been like this before about her or other women. Some of them have even been away with us before when my wife and their wives and girlfriends all went topless too. It is not even like they have not seen my wife's tits before, laughing out loud. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. It is not like she was showing them in a way to be sexual. She was showing her piercings to someone who has contemplated getting the same piercing. Yeah, context matters. Showing a piercing is not the same as showing off in a sexual way. And even if that is something the original poster and his wife are both comfortable with, it is not anyone's business but theirs. Indeed, but some people just have absolutely no sense of boundaries. This matter is entirely the original poster's family business and has nothing to do with his friends. So what are they getting so worked up about? Opie. Yeah, she was in the corner of an outside area of a bar with her back to the crowd. Only those in the direct vicinity would have known what was happening. Commenter 4. Any of your friends that are trying to tell you to keep your wife under control or whatever do not deserve to be your friends. I agree with this. Also, any friends who are calling his wife insulting names should not be his friends anymore. Yeah, it is the guys who think he has some ability to keep her under control. That is just what insecure men say who think their wives are not equals. The original poster and his wife are partners, so there is no control to be placed under. And as for the one who called her a slag, he deserved what he got. I could not agree more. Isn't this the most basic principle of being a friend? I think the original poster's friends are kind of jerks. Commenter 5. Not the asshole. You found out 3 important things. You have chosen friends who view women as property. You have failed to control your property in a way they expect you to control her. Your wife is now in danger around your friends. Also, as an old lady who has seen this play out over many friend groups of men through the years, I can guarantee you that at least one of your friends is now spanking it while imagining giving your wife the discipline he thinks you will not. And if you keep allowing these men access to your wife, one of them will eventually cross the line and harass or hurt her because she deserves it. Commenter 6. You are in the right here. Your friends are just insecure that you being okay with this is going to lead to their wives doing something like this. It is good you do not see any harm in this, because there is not. She was showing a few people and with good intentions, not to cheat or whatever bad intention these friends of yours think she had. You are a good husband, and from what it seems, you are both confident in your wife and yourself, which is great. Quite frankly, you should drop those friends, definitely the one who called her a slag, and those who are saying, "Would she show me if I asked?" They're basically calling her easy and telling you in a discreet way that your wife would give it up or show anybody. Or they secretly have been wanting the original poster's wife all along. Knock on wood. But if the original poster and his wife were to split up now, those of his friends would be lined up to talk to her while also pretending to be good friends to the original poster. Opie. Agreed. And it has kind of opened my eyes a bit to how badly they would react if their wives did the same. I did not see any harm in it at all. The 2 women she was talking to could see, and 3 of my friends could see. Big deal. Someone saw her boobs. Next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to share my college dorm room with my older sister and her baby? I, 19, female, am in my first year of college and live in a small dorm room on campus. My sister, 26, female, had a baby a few months ago, and she has been struggling financially. She and the baby's father broke up, and she had to move back in with our parents. The problem is, she hates living there because our parents are too controlling and judgmental about her being a single mom. She asked if I could request permission for her to stay in my dorm with her baby for a while, because it would be quieter and give her space to figure things out. I told her no. My dorm is tiny, barely big enough for me, and I have a roommate. Plus, a baby crying all night in a shared dorm? That is not fair to my roommate or me. She got upset and said I was being selfish, that families should help each other, and that she would do it for me if the roles were reversed. Now, my parents are also pressuring me to just let her stay for a little while because she is struggling. My roommate thinks the whole situation is crazy and that I should not feel bad, but I'm starting to wonder if I'm being a bad sister. Am I the asshole? Edit. I spoke to the dorm in charge and was told it would not be allowed at all. I informed my parents and sister about it, but my sister is still upset and says I should have been more open to the idea and that I should not have denied her for my selfish reasons before asking for permission. Commenter 1. Not the asshole. As you stated, a crying baby is not fair or quiet for anyone. How loud can your parents' house be that she needs to get away? It is not about volume. It is that she does not want to listen to mom and dad tell her they are disappointed in her choices. My guess is your campus will have a firm no as an answer to this. So, I actually do encourage you to reach out to them to ask what the policy is on non-students living on campus / in a dorm room that is already at capacity. If, as I suspect, it is a clear not allowed, print that out and hand it to both her and your parents. Editing to add. Your sister would 100% use this as an excuse to use you as free labor to take care of her child. This is a time when you should be focusing on schoolwork and living the college life, not taking care of someone else's baby. Agree completely that the original poster should absolutely ask the resident advisor and/or housing department about this. Unauthorized visitors will get the original poster kicked out, so having it in writing should help shift the blame from the original poster to the university. Not to mention, there is a roommate. Back in my day, dorm rooms were one room with 2 beds, a place for their clothes, and 2 desks. Where would you fit another adult person and a baby? Also, colleges and universities are usually not big on non-students living in their dorms. If I was paying for my child to live on campus, not a cheap option at any school these days, and a non-student moved in with a baby, I would be on the phone to complain to the university so fast that big sister's head would spin. It is just not an option. Original poster. Get your roommate's parents to call your parents and ask how much of your roommate's room and board they will be covering. I bet that will shut this idea down fast. I cannot imagine any on-campus housing would be cool with a non-student with an infant dependent squatting on their property. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. At all. Wow. What an ask. I cannot imagine your roommate going for that arrangement, laughing out loud. She got upset and said I was being selfish. On the contrary, she is selfishly asking you and your roommate to 100% disrupt your living situation to accommodate her. Pot meat kettle. Now my parents are also pressuring me to just let her stay for a little while. Nope. Is a ludicrous suggestion. Maybe tell your parents to go on vacation for a little while and give her some breathing room. Not the asshole. Stand your ground or become her first go-to whenever she wants to take advantage. Not that your roommate would allow her, laughing out loud. On the contrary, she is selfishly asking you and your roommate to 100% disrupt your living situation to accommodate her. Not just that, it is going to disrupt other people's lives in the dorm. Crying babies can be heard from neighbors in apartments, even with rooms in between them and the baby. Plus, the only place for the baby to play is going to be in the common rooms where people watch television. Students are not going to be thrilled with being asked to not have the television loud and playing things a baby should not be exposed to, whether it is shows or video games. There's going to be a lot of noise disturbance for the baby, as dorms have a lot of slamming doors and loud music, even parties. There is no way they can hide the baby from people, or the sister, for that matter. Commenter 3. Not the asshole, and your college/university might actually have something to say about you moving non-enrolled people into your dorm room. There's probably also some liability for having minors in the dorm. Unless you want to risk getting kicked out for housing people, you should not stick to your guns. Also, she is 26 and has a home. She should evaluate her life choices before she burdens you with them. Yes, the university will definitely have a policy on how many consecutive nights a guest can stay. Mine was 2 nights, so people could stay a full weekend. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. What a wildly irrational request. A shared college dorm room is no place for a newborn. It is not selfish to tell her no. You have a roommate to consider, and you're both there to study, so a baby would make that difficult. Beyond that, dorm rooms are generally cramped as it is. To add another adult, and a baby would leave practically no room. And I'm not sure if she has never been in a dorm room before, but they generally are not exactly quiet spaces. I would honestly be tempted to tell her you talk to the school, and they will not allow it. It sucks that she is struggling, but that does not obligate you to be her housing solution. Hell, I had a nice dorm room in college because there was room to separate the twin beds instead of having to set them up bunk style. I cannot imagine where a third person and a baby would have fit. Commenter 5. Not the asshole, but this cannot be real. Is she serious? Firstly, the college/university would presumably never allow an infant to take up residency in a dorm. It is not set up for parents, and it is a liability nightmare. Second, she honestly thinks a dorm room with 3 adults and 1 baby in a building full of teens and early 20s cohabitating will be quieter than a house full of boomers? Third, your parents are really willing to potentially sabotage your education to pacify your sister. There's no way this is real, or if it is, she is embellishing because there is not a chance in hell her parents thought for a minute a college dorm room is a suitable place for an infant. Next story. Would I be the asshole for not fully engaging with my son's fiance's family traditions? Hi everyone. My son is getting married to a Hindu woman. We are a non-religious family, so he has opted to embrace the traditions of his partner and her family. As such, the wedding will be a full-on traditional Hindu wedding. I have been asked to wear the traditional clothing of their tradition. It includes a skirt-type piece that I do not like. I told my son I am not comfortable wearing that since it is not my culture. Plus, in my country, I want to dress like my countrymen. But it seems there is a hard stop on this since, to participate in the religious ceremony, I need to wear it. I have told them I am more comfortable wearing something with trousers that is not the tradition. They have accepted that I can wear the trousers, but my son is being stubborn and wants me to wear the real traditional clothing. My wife is very excited to be wearing the traditional clothing, as are my daughters. I'm just not keen. Am I the asshole for not wanting to wear Hindu clothing to my son's Hindu wedding? Edit. To clear up some confusion, I am male, 60 years old, and this is the type of clothes I am being asked to wear. The reason I need to wear it, I believe, is because I will be on the stage participating in the actual ceremony. Commenter 1. You would be the asshole if you attend the ceremony and do not conform to the dress code. This would be true for any wedding. You are the father of the groom, but you are acting like the sullen teenage younger brother who does not want to wear a suit. It is a religious ceremony. You do not have to be part of it if you are not comfortable with it. But it is incredibly rude to insist on attending and refusing to follow the wishes of the bride and groom. I am pretty sure the reason that your son is the one insisting is that your future in-laws do not want to be too demanding, so he has to stick up for his bride. I attended a Catholic wedding 2 weeks ago. I am Protestant. They, of course, do a whole mass, including communion. I sang the responses. I stood when others stood, and I sat when they said sit or kneel. They quite clearly indicated that non-Catholics were not to take communion, so I did not. As a guest at their religious ceremony, I did what they wanted a non-Catholic to do. You would do well to remember that the wedding is not about you. It is about being supportive of the bride and groom. It is not like you are being asked to wear a kilt with nothing underneath. Yes, there is a skirt piece or a knee-length dress, but it is worn over pants. What you're not understanding is you will stick out if you do not wear the traditional clothing, much more than if you dress like everyone else, just like the sullen teenager who is wearing jeans and a polo to a formal wedding. Commenter 2. Gently, you are the asshole. You are letting some kind of weird toxic masculinity get in the way of celebrating a moment with your child. If you proceed with wearing something different than everyone else because you do not want to wear a skirt-type piece that you do not like, you will be ostracizing yourself. You will be the one standing out because of your own insecurities. Just wear the traditional garb for a few hours. I promise you will be fine, and no one will make fun of you. I was totally on board with the original poster at first, because I thought he objected to participating in a religious ceremony that conflicted with his beliefs. Turns out he is just too uptight to wear a skirt. Commenter 3. Oh, too manly to wear a dhoti. Dude, get a grip. It is not a freaking skirt, and you're not going to become transgender just for wearing it. Jesus fucking Christ. But what if he feels pretty when the dhoti goes twirly twirly? Oh dear God, you have met my dad, have you not? Various skirt and dress-like garments, and he prances about like the fat white man he is. It is ridiculous but fun. The look of glee on my brand spanking new husband's face as he discovered during our first dance that kilts flare when the wearer spins still gives me joy nearly 9 years later. Thanks for reminding me, neighbor. Hope you find a nice, crisp, forgotten 20 in your coat. Commenter 4. Yes, you would be the asshole if you do not fully engage with the traditions your son and his fiancée have chosen to embrace for their wedding. This is not your wedding or birthday or celebration of any kind. So unless the garment they're asking you to wear is physically uncomfortable and causing pain or far more expensive than what you can afford, then you should just embrace it. They have accepted that I can wear the trousers, but my son is being stubborn and wants me to wear the real traditional clothing. His fiancée and her family are just trying to be polite. They do not want to cause a scene, and they certainly do not want you to cause one at the wedding. She is being overly accommodating for your masculine fragility, not because it is actually okay to go against their wishes for tradition. Additionally, your future daughter-in-law, of course, wants to make a good impression on you and does not want you to resent her for this simple request that you are currently being a child about. Your son is standing his ground because he knows how important this is, and unlike his fiancée, he knows that you will not stop loving him just for standing his ground. He is doing exactly what he should be, and you should apologize for insinuating that their clothing choices are not good enough. Lastly, you can wear pants under whatever skirt-type piece you like, but you should definitely be dressed in the traditional clothing on top. This is their wedding, and they will have proof forever in their wedding photos that you are a stubborn asshole if you do not go along with their request. You're the asshole. He is still wearing pants. He says a skirt, but if you look up any men's Hindu wedding clothing, it is just a long tunic with pants underneath and seems much more comfortable than a Western men's suit. It feels weirdly misogynistic in that he is afraid to wear anything perceived as feminine and skirt-like. Would this even be a question if the fiancé was Scottish and he had to wear a kilt, which is more like a skirt than a tunic? Commenter 5. I think most of these outfits would involve pants worn under a long shirt, but nothing that is actually a skirt. Ask your son, or even better, the bride's parents, to show you examples of what would be appropriate for you to wear. I think you will be pleasantly surprised that it is not as unusual as you may be thinking. Congratulations to your families. Next story. Am I the asshole for not doing an art commission I was not told about? Title sounds a little confusing. I was not sure how to best word it. Hopefully this all makes sense. I, female, 33 years old, do a lot of art in the needlework medium. Embroidery, cross-stitch, weaving, etc. I'm going to toot my own horn here. I'm very good at it. I have won first prize at a couple of our state fair competitions, and the one tapestry piece I had in a gallery sold for a good bit of money. A few years ago, I made a choice that I would no longer take commissions. The deadlines back and forth between clients, and all that jazz made me hate what was once a hobby I could do for hours, shutting my brain off. I will still make presents on occasion. My wife's best friend just had a baby, and I made a cross-stitch birth announcement for the nursery, for example. But anything outside of that is not happening. This past week, I got a message on my Instagram from my friend Mike's friend Abigail. Abigail said Mike recommended me for an embroidery she wanted done, and how soon could I get to the process. I told Abigail I was sorry, but I no longer take commissions, and Mike knew that already. Abigail was a little pissy, but Mike, oh my God. He texted me in a fury, saying he really buttered up my work to Abigail, and he was trying to date her, and I have fucked things up for him. I am sad that Mike is acting this way, but I also wonder that since Abigail was misled about me not doing commissions, should I just do it? My wife says absolutely not, and I 85% think she's right, but I just wanted the perspective of people who are not married to me. Laughing out loud. Commenter 1. Not the asshole. And your wife is 100% right. Mike made his own decision to mislead Abigail. He is responsible for that decision and for any fallout that might occur. He is 100% the asshole here. You do not need to change anything you're doing to suit him. The only thing you do need to do is enforce your boundaries better. He's trying to guilt you. Do not let him. He is texting the original poster in a fury instead of taking accountability. People like this always seem to have everyone and anyone to blame except themselves. Laughing out loud, he did not even tell the original poster that the request was incoming or any information at all. Neither Mike nor Abigail sound like much of a catch. No one needs people like this in their life. To be fair, Abigail had been deceived. She has the right to be a little pissed at the situation, which, from the sound of things, is what happened. Mike, on the other hand, yeah, fuck no, he's out of line. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. Your wife is right. Mike made a promise to Abigail without consulting you first. He knew you were no longer doing work on commission. He messed things up for himself. You had nothing to do with it. You are not obligated to make art for anyone. This is a hobby for you. You do not owe Abigail or Mike anything. Mike trying to get with Abigail by way of the original poster's art. Imagine having a hookup on custom embroidery being the make it or break it with a potential date. Commenter 3. If you tell someone who is looking for, say, new bed sheets that they should totally go to the local hospital because they have amazing sheets on all of their beds, and then the hospital tells the person that they do not sell sheets, is the hospital the asshole? Or were you? Not the asshole. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. As a knitter and hooker, crochet uses a hook. You're not obligated to do your hobby so someone else can get laid. As someone who crochets badly, I got confused why you put the explanation for hooker, then realized outside of crochet it has a more well-known meaning. Commenter 5. Not the asshole. I doubt the difference between Mike closing the deal or not with this woman hinges on your embroidery. If it does, that is not much of a foundation on which to build a relationship. Tell Mike to get a dog if he needs help picking up women. To be fair, if a guy I was just getting to know deliberately misled me and caused me an awkward interaction like this, I would take it as the red flag it rightfully is. Next story. Would I be the asshole if I tell my husband he cannot leave the job he hates? My husband is a tradesman. He has always wanted his own business as he hates having a boss. He started doing freelance work over the years and felt like he could go out on his own someday. I am a teacher, and at the end of 2021, my district asked me to head up an initiative that bumped my pay up quarterly stipends without a ton of extra work. Around the same time, his company of 8 years got bought out. We decided this would be a good time for him to go out on his own. My teaching job provides steady income. I hold our family's insurance. We have 3 kids, the oldest is 9, and the stipends provided a little cushion. We also had about $40,000 in savings. Things started out great, but a year later, most of the work in the area dried up. He took contracts out of state to keep working, but he did not make as much because of lodging and food expenses. He suggested we buy a camper for him to live in when he was away. I agreed. That came with a hefty monthly payment, but it alleviated some of the cost. Then the out-of-state work became fewer and farther between. He was home more, making no money at all. My husband is a hustler and was constantly putting himself out there, but the cost of supplies went up, so he had to raise prices for his services. This made things worse. The cycle continued. As hard as it was to be home alone with 3 young kids when he traveled, it was worse when he was home. He was miserable. A potential contract would cheer him up and then fall through. We went through this for months. Midway through 2024, we were simply out of money. We were living off credit cards. He took some seasonal work in the fall, and that is the only reason our home was not foreclosed on. He felt like a failure. Early December, an old friend called him to ask if he would consider working with him. There is a corporate project, and they desperately need people with my husband's skill set. $61 per hour plus a $1,500 sign-on bonus if he started within 10 days. We thought it was too good to be true, but 2 days after Christmas, he had a contract in his email. He started right after the new year. His first check was like manna from heaven. It has taken 2 months to breathe again, even with my pay. He has gotten paid 4 times, and his most recent check was the first time we had money left over after we paid bills. We took the kids to McDonald's to celebrate. The problem is he is miserable. It took a week for him to remember why he hates working for other people. I watch his light dim more every day. He is working overtime weekly, and I feel bad he has to spend so much time there. The other day, he fake casually mentioned that he heard from a company out of state. It is the opportunity one have been waiting for, he says. It just came a little late. I love this man, but I do not think I can support this again. We put $40,000 plus and about $15,000 in credit card debt into it. He was gone for months at a time, and it was hard here. And we still have a huge monthly payment for that camper we cannot sell. Would it be cruel to tell him he cannot quit? Commenter 1. Your husband is a grown-up. Sometimes we need to suck it up and work jobs we do not enjoy to support our families. As an adult with basic math skills, your husband should be able to look at your finances and figure out for himself that he needs to maintain his current earnings to help your family climb out of the debt that the unfortunate failure of his business caused. He should also be able to understand the impact on his family of him working away from home for long periods. If your husband wants to leave the family and his good-paying job and move back out of state to work, I do not think you can stop him. You're not his mom. All you can do, should he make this decision, is have some frank discussions about what you expect and are willing to accept should he wish you to remain in this marriage. It should also be made clear what his financial obligations to the family will be on an ongoing basis, whether or not you remain in the marriage, should he leave again to work elsewhere. One hopes earning money needed to support his children. It is not cruel to expect an adult man to pull his weight in supporting his children and family. Not the asshole. I do not think you can stop him. You're not his mom. I think I know what you mean, but I'm really starting to hate when people say you cannot force an adult to do things. In a literal sense, probably not, unless you put a gun to his head. But this man is a husband. He is a father. 3 kids. That is 4 pretty big commitments. You do not get to decide everything on your own once you enter such commitments. He could be single, but the kids are for life. Grow the hell up and deal with it. He could take his time to build his business slowly or seek alternatives or whatever, but honestly, it sounds a bit like he's not that good of a businessman, which is no shame. Acquiring clients and deals is hard on top of the actual work, but that is really hard to judge here, of course. Commenter 2. Your husband needs to grow up and gain a different perspective. He hates working for other people? Seriously, who does he think he is working for as a contractor? It is not himself, that is for sure, other businesses. And where I am from, anyway, contractors have far fewer rights than a full-time permanent employee. The only difference between now and then is who his bosses are. Before, it was different people who were unreliable. Now he has a boss who is consistent, who is reliably paying him a paycheck every week and letting him do overtime. To me, it just sounds like he's being a baby. He liked hustling for himself because he had excuses to get out of other responsibilities. Sorry, cannot help with the kids, out of state making $1, all the while getting to travel around in different locations and see different things in his very own camper van. In what way would this other job be better? He will be away from his family all week. Would that not make him more miserable than having a boss? Every hustler and entrepreneur I have come across who acted like having a boss is just about the worst thing in this world has always been a failure, because the reason they want to hustle and be an entrepreneur is because they think the issue with their lack of success is that they do not get to be responsible for themselves, and they do not get to dictate the rules of the game, but it is all nonsense. The real reason 90% of the time is most of them lack discipline and just do not have the talent to be successful based on the rules of the game laid out before them. When they do go on to their own thing, they almost always become miserable when they only have themselves to rely on for being responsible, then get more miserable at their failures of being responsible, and then get more miserable when they realize if they want customers, they're still going to have to kiss ass and play by the rules. Then they fail, they come back to the real world, and somehow make it 2 weeks before they have completely forgotten how much of an utter failure they were at being out on their own and how miserable that made them in comparison. If he keeps working this job, over time, he will have to work less overtime as you guys catch up. That will give him a better work-life balance, much better than try to be a contractor out of state again. I hate having a boss is such teenage energy. Yeah, man, no one likes having to trade their labor to live. Maybe if you did not have a spouse and children, you would have a bit more flexibility, but as it stands, you made a choice to be responsible for a family, and that is what you're going to have to do. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. Blue-collar tradesman with family responsibilities. Hates working for other people. Cannot drum up steady business/work. stepped in something that turned to $61 per hour gold. He should consider himself blessed. Edit. Over my career as an electrician and field technician/engineer, I worked for several employers and ventured out on my own a couple of times. Running a small one-man show, or with a helper, is very difficult. You are limited to smaller jobs with lots of competition from similar people, which drives pricing down, and you cannot run a lot of jobs simultaneously to cut the inherent no work right now risk element. And beyond the physical work, you also have to run the business and billing end and cover business expenses and any employee benefits and payroll taxes. I gave up on it after a couple of tries and settled into the different depression of being an employee with regular hours, time off, benefits, providing successfully for my family, etc. At my last employee job, I earned $65 per hour plus benefits. My internal cost to my employer was over $105 per hour for just the salary and benefits part, but excluding business expenses. For a trades-based small business, there are big expenses in management time, vehicles, insurance, tools, etc. The list is quite large, which is why electricians, plumbers, etc. charge in the $150 per hour plus range for services. But even at those rates, it is hard to beat out the earning potential and income security of a steady career job from an income per hour standpoint. Yeah, sometimes it can get boring, or you feel unfulfilled, have unpleasant tasks, feel taken for granted, taken advantage of, etc. Everybody wants to be their own boss. Until bids fall through and they're out of work, they have a deadbeat customer, or it becomes just like working for the man. Only now you have no one to blame but yourself. And just a different incarnation of depression. It is the old rub of being in a small one-man business. My employee is lazy and my boss is incompetent. Next story. Am I the asshole for asking my friend to bring her own food when she asked to come over? My friend has a pretty big appetite, and when she comes over, she frequently eats many of my groceries. I am on a limited budget, and I cannot afford to feed her appetite. When she comes over, she will typically eat $40 to $60 worth of groceries. I'm all for feeding my guests refreshments and providing snacks and meals, and I only invite my friends over when I am in the financial position to host. The friend in question asks me almost weekly if she can come over. She usually says she is having a hard time and needs a friend. I'm always hesitant to have her over because of the amount of my groceries. She helps herself too. If I have a full multi-pack of food, she will leave me with 1 or 2 items in addition to having whatever else she finds in my fridge or pantry. I recently addressed my concern with her and told her that if I invite her over, I plan on providing snacks or meals. However, if she asks to come over, she needs to provide her own food. She did not take this well and felt I was shaming her eating habits. She does have a tendency to find comfort in food and often struggles with overeating. She pointed out that I did not have this rule for my other friends, to which I tried to explain that it was because they never ate so much that I felt the need to implement any kind of rules or restrictions. She said I was an asshole for shaming her for her biggest insecurity and for singling her out by creating rules for her that I do not have with other friends. I knew she struggled with food, but still asked if she could supply her own snacks and meals when she asked to come over. Am I the asshole? Commenter 1. Not the asshole. 2 things can be true. She could be sensitive about her eating. She is also using her eating issues and your friendship to take advantage of you. If you're trying to explain to her how she is putting you out by eating all your food and that you do not have that issue with anyone else, she should understand. If she keeps playing the victim instead of trying to understand your side, you may need to distance yourself from her. Maybe calculate how much money of yours she eats in a month and tell her. Not to shame her, but maybe she will understand the numbers better than specifically talking about the food itself. Original poster. Thank you. I'm going to calculate the cost of the groceries she eats. I go to the grocery store twice a month because it is not ever close to me, so it can look like I have more groceries to spare than I really do since I shop for 2 weeks at a time. I have a set amount I can spend on groceries every month. So when she eats more than I can spare, I cannot afford to repurchase the items and will often have to improvise with light meals or snacks until my next paycheck. Since her parents do all the grocery shopping and supply her with groceries, I do not think she has a good understanding of the cost of living and the extent that it affects me. Why cannot you go to her place? Or a neutral third location where your pantry is not? If all she needs is an ear and a shoulder, you could do that anywhere. Not the asshole for telling her to bring her own food and explaining why. Commenter 2. As you describe things, not the asshole. I understand that this is her biggest insecurity. However, it really feels like a good friend would have done this automatically after a few times of literally eating $60 worth of food every time they come over. That is certainly a non-trivial amount of food. I would say a normal friend would, at least every so often, say, "Hey, you fed me last time. I am ordering takeout for us / bringing over frozen pizza / whatever." And that is whether or not they ate some of your food. When you have friends, it is always give and take. It is part of the whole deal. It is absolutely no big deal to provide food or snacks for a friend. But a friend will also bring stuff over or share the cost. It seems to me she was, at least partially, using you for free food for the night. Commenter 3. When she needs a friend, offer to meet her at a coffee shop or, if the weather is nice, in a park. Spend time somewhere there is no food. Not the asshole. This is a great idea. She is already using you as a free therapist if she wants to come over when she is having a hard time and needs a friend. It does not mean you have to be somewhere she can eat her feelings. If she is having a hard time, a walk or an afternoon in the park will be good for her. If she insists on going to a restaurant, make sure you only have some tea and ask for separate bills. None of this she orders everything on the menu and you split the bill evenly nonsense. The other alternative would be to offer her one specific snack. Put out some carrots and hummus. Hide any non-perishables in your closet or something. Label all other perishables as dinner March 18th, 25, or lunch March 22nd, 25, so that she can see that this food is already reserved. Honestly, after you have already had this conversation about the food issue, she would have to be stupid or a complete jerk to now insist that she needs to eat your food. Are you okay with her coming over weekly because she's having a hard time and needs a friend? Or is this too much for you? This is very much along the lines of setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. And if it is too overwhelming for you to take in all her troubles, she should get herself a professional to deal with this. That is a lot for you to deal with so often. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. This person is not a friend if she is helping herself to all your food, in your own home, even. I never rummage through my host's pantry or fridge. The only place I help myself to things is my immediate family, and always after asking, and I usually contributed groceries as I would be staying the night. I live abroad. It is really rude to me to hear that your friend just helps herself at your house. You're not an asshole at all for telling her that she cannot come around to eat about $50 worth of your food every time she invites herself over. Why cannot she bring her own snacks and food if she invites herself to your place? How does she even manage to eat that much in one afternoon? I have done weekly shops that cost less, and I am by no means skinny. You are not shaming her about her eating habits, as you did not tell her she cannot eat this much, just that she cannot eat this much of your food. I think your suggestion of her bringing her own food and snacks, if she wants to come over, is great. If she is not interested in that, it is clear she is just looking to spend your money by eating your food, and it was not about spending time with you. Next story. Am I the asshole for asking my friend to bring her own food when she asks to come over? My friend has a pretty big appetite, and when she comes over, she frequently eats many of my groceries. I am on a limited budget, and I cannot afford to feed her appetite. When she comes over, she will typically eat $40 to $60 worth of groceries. I'm all for feeding my guests refreshments and providing snacks and meals, and I only invite my friends over when I am in the financial position to host. The friend in question asks me almost weekly if she can come over. She usually says she is having a hard time and needs a friend. I'm always hesitant to have her over because of the amount of my groceries. She helps herself too. If I have a full multi-pack of food, she will leave me with 1 or 2 items in addition to having whatever else she finds in my fridge or pantry. I recently addressed my concern with her and told her that if I invite her over, I plan on providing snacks or meals. However, if she asks to come over, she needs to provide her own food. She did not take this well and felt I was shaming her eating habits. She does have a tendency to find comfort in food and often struggles with overeating. She pointed out that I did not have this rule for my other friends, to which I tried to explain that it was because they never ate so much that I felt the need to implement any kind of rules or restrictions. She said I was an asshole for shaming her for her biggest insecurity and for singling her out by creating rules for her that I do not have with other friends. I knew she struggled with food, but still asked if she could supply her own snacks and meals when she asked to come over. Am I the asshole? Commenter 1. Not the asshole. Two things can be true. She could be sensitive about her eating. She is also using her eating issues and your friendship to take advantage of you. If you're trying to explain to her how she is putting you out by eating all your food and that you do not have that issue with anyone else, she should understand. If she keeps playing the victim instead of trying to understand your side, you may need to distance yourself from her. Maybe calculate how much money of yours she eats in a month and tell her. Not to shame her, but maybe she will understand the numbers better than specifically talking about the food itself. Original poster. Thank you. I'm going to calculate the cost of the groceries she eats. I go to the grocery store twice a month because it is not ever close to me, so it can look like I have more groceries to spare than I really do since I shop for 2 weeks at a time. I have a set amount I can spend on groceries every month. So when she eats more than I can spare, I cannot afford to repurchase the items and will often have to improvise with light meals or snacks until my next paycheck. Since her parents do all the grocery shopping and supply her with groceries, I do not think she has a good understanding of the cost of living and the extent that it affects me. Why cannot you go to her place? Or a neutral third location where your pantry is not? If all she needs is an ear and a shoulder, you could do that anywhere. Not the asshole for telling her to bring her own food and explaining why. Commenter 2. As you describe things, not the asshole. I understand that this is her biggest insecurity. However, it really feels like a good friend would have done this automatically after a few times of literally eating $60 worth of food every time they come over. That is certainly a non-trivial amount of food. I would say a normal friend would, at least every so often, say, "Hey, you fed me last time. I am ordering takeout for us / bringing over frozen pizza / whatever." And that is whether or not they ate some of your food. When you have friends, it is always give and take. It is part of the whole deal. It is absolutely no big deal to provide food or snacks for a friend. But a friend will also bring stuff over or share the cost. It seems to me she was, at least partially, using you for free food for the night. Commenter 3. When she needs a friend, offer to meet her at a coffee shop or, if the weather is nice, in a park. Spend time somewhere there is no food. Not the asshole. This is a great idea. She is already using you as a free therapist if she wants to come over when she is having a hard time and needs a friend. It does not mean you have to be somewhere she can eat her feelings. If she is having a hard time, a walk or an afternoon in the park will be good for her. If she insists on going to a restaurant, make sure you only have some tea and ask for separate bills. None of this she orders everything on the menu and you split the bill evenly nonsense. The other alternative would be to offer her one specific snack. Put out some carrots and hummus. Hide any non-perishables in your closet or something. Label all other perishables as dinner March 18th, 25, or lunch March 22nd, 25, so that she can see that this food is already reserved. Honestly, after you have already had this conversation about the food issue, she would have to be stupid or a complete jerk to now insist that she needs to eat your food. Are you okay with her coming over weekly because she is having a hard time and needs a friend? Or is this too much for you? This is very much along the lines of setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. And if it is too overwhelming for you to take in all her troubles, she should get herself a professional to deal with this. That is a lot for you to deal with so often. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. This person is not a friend if she is helping herself to all your food, in your own home, even. I never rummage through my host's pantry or fridge. The only place I help myself to things is my immediate family, and always after asking, and I usually contributed groceries as I would be staying the night. I live abroad. It is really rude to me to hear that your friend just helps herself at your house. You are not an asshole at all for telling her that she cannot come around to eat about $50 worth of your food every time she invites herself over. Why cannot she bring her own snacks and food if she invites herself to your place? How does she even manage to eat that much in one afternoon? I have done weekly shops that cost less, and I am by no means skinny. You are not shaming her about her eating habits, as you did not tell her she cannot eat this much, just that she cannot eat this much of your food. I think your suggestion of her bringing her own food and snacks if she wants to come over is great. If she is not interested in that, it is clear she is just looking to spend your money by eating your food, and it was not about spending time with you. Next story. Would I be the asshole for not going to my sister's wedding because her venue is not wheelchair accessible? My 24-year-old female sister, 30-year-old female, is getting married soon. I am very happy for her, and there are no issues between the two of us. She really wanted to get married in a specific location, and she got it, which is great, but that location is pretty much not accessible to wheelchairs. I have a significant disability, paraplegia, and cannot move at all without a wheelchair, so going there would be tough. She told me that I could be carried up any stairs and then stay at the tables, but that is not something I am comfortable with. Getting carried is very uncomfortable and dangerous, especially when done repeatedly by someone who is not used to it. And I really do not want to have to be carried to the toilets at a wedding full of strangers, or even worse, have an accident. Then I also would not expect people to just sit with me while the celebrations are going on, but the idea of sitting there and watching for hours feels wrong, especially since after a few hours, sitting hurts a lot and skin becomes a concern, but I would not ask someone to leave the wedding just for me. I'm not upset about the fact that they picked that venue. Is their day, and I do not expect them to plan it based on my needs, but I also do not think she understands that it is not as easy as she thinks. There's so many things that could go very wrong. I intend to get them a nice gift and propose to maybe spend quality time together afterwards or before. One of my cousins told me that it is just one day and that it is very important for my sister, so I should make an effort and get out of my comfort zone, but I feel like endangering my health is not as simple as getting out of my comfort zone. So, would I be the asshole for not going? Commenter 1. Endangering my health isn't as simple as getting out of my comfort zone. Yes, exactly. Original poster. You would not be the asshole in this situation. You have more of a responsibility to yourself and your physical health and safety than you do to your sister's wedding day. For anyone who gives you grief about that, the argument you use is they've picked a venue that is not accessible to me, so I cannot go. It is not my decision whether to go or not. They made that decision for me by picking an inaccessible venue. You would not be the asshole. Original poster. That is a great way to put it. Thank you. I'm not even mad about the fact that they picked something not accessible. It is their wedding, but I expect them to understand that prioritizing my health is more important than that. You cannot afford to get sores on your body from being stationary for so long. I totally would feel uncomfortable having people carry me, especially if they're not trained, and to have to worry about the bathroom on top of that. Hey, no, you are a better person than I am. I would be upset they chose their destination. Not the asshole. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. Weddings are not court summons. If the venue is not wheelchair accessible, then you should not feel pressure to go. The fact that anyone thinks you can be carried everywhere and are expected to sit there is beyond ridiculous. It is not a matter of getting out of your comfort zone. It is a matter of safety for you and whoever they think will be carrying you. Edit to add, as stated below, it is not just safety, it is dignity as well. You have your own autonomy and should not be expected to give it up for anyone, no matter the reason. Not only a matter of safety, but dignity as well. Your sister sounds like she is too caught up in wedding planning to even realize what she is suggesting, which is for her adult sister to be carried all over a wedding venue, upstairs, and to the bathrooms as needed, and to just sit at a table and watch the festivities until someone carries her out to leave. Ridiculous. Not the asshole. Commenter 3. There is a massive difference between getting out of your comfort zone and not placing yourself where you are 100% reliant on others. That is putting yourself in jeopardy, and I guarantee that unless someone is assigned to you, you'll have to try to get people's attention all night long. Not the asshole. Original poster. Yes, that is one of my biggest fears, especially if people drink a bit. If my husband was able to come, then maybe I would have considered it, as his focus would only be on me, and we could have stayed together and left early, but his work made it impossible. Commenter 4. Definitely not the asshole. But I am mind blown that she picked a venue that was not handicap accessible when her sister is in a wheelchair. I know it is her day, but damn. Original poster. I am so used to life in a wheelchair that those things do not offend me anymore, but I appreciate the fact that you guys are offended on my behalf. It feels good to know that I am not wrong for standing my ground. Next story. We got an offer on a house, and our friends asked if they could move in. My husband and I received the notice that our offer was accepted. We are super excited and started sharing the news with our close friends and family. One of our friends, who is going back to school in our state, said congratulations and then asked, since the timing works out, can he and his wife come live with us for a year? My immediate gut reaction was no, because we have not even lived in the house yet, and we would immediately have to share the space with them. They also have not shared any plans of paying rent, helping with groceries, or anything else. I would feel like a huge asshole telling them no and having that uncomfortable confrontation. But something tells me, as first-time homeowners, we would be frustrated if we immediately let them move in when we have not settled in ourselves. Also, I cannot help but wonder what their plan was if we did not get a house and still live in our apartment. This just feels like they jumped on the opportunity of living somewhere free. I'm just looking for others' opinions because I am feeling pretty worked up about it. Commenter 1. I would feel like a huge asshole telling them no and having that uncomfortable confrontation. Not the asshole, and analyze why you think you would be the asshole for telling them that they cannot come live with you. They're asking to live in your home for a year, not borrowing a cup of sugar. If they think you're an asshole for that, then they are not your friends. Better to have one uncomfortable conversation lasting an evening than an uncomfortable year or longer if they do not move out. You would be the asshole to allow them to move in and tarnish your new home experience. Does it even need to last an evening? Can it not just be, I'm really sorry, we are excited to move into our new space, just ourselves in the first home we are ever going to own. We look forward to having you around for dinner once we are in and settled, though. Or something less formal or in the cadence they usually have with these friends. I do not think this even needs to be face-to-face. Just say or text no. And if they push back, be like, this is really weird that you keep pushing this. Have you ever had somebody insist on living with you rent-free for a year? Because I have never heard of this happening. And throw their behavior back at them. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. Just straight up say, sorry, no, we are not interested in having tenants or roommates. I never understand people thinking they need to make up this dramatic reason. Just say no. I live in a 4-bedroom house by myself. The number of people who ask me if they can rent a room is crazy. My response is always no. I do not want roommates, and I am not risking them becoming squatters, family, or friends. People change. Years ago, I lived alone in a 2-bedroom house. A friend, who was part of group text, took a 2-year job in a different country with his company. And as he was planning to make his return back, he hopped on that group text and asked me if he could live with me for 4 months or so while he got a new place back in town. My reply, a simple no. He questioned why. I reached out to a different friend who had done that same 2-year move a few years earlier, and she explained that their employer automatically gives them up to $2,500 a month for 6 months for temporary living expenses while someone find a new home to live in. This friend straight up not only wanted me to let him live with me, but he was also going to pocket $10,000 from his employer and not even tell me. I texted him back in the group text. Now that I knew this information, I spoke to Sally. Did you know that you will get $2,500 a month towards relocation rental for 6 months by your employer? He privately texted me that he could not believe what a jerk I was being by not letting him live with me. My reply, no, do not want a roommate. The guy never spoke to me again and left the group text. Commenter 3, do not do it. Do not let them move in. No chance, no way. Take it from someone who has been there. I had a friend move in. The estimate was 6 months to get on his feet. It took 3 years and a girlfriend to get him to move out. His stuff is still at my place 8 months later. I keep hounding him to get his stuff out. He will not. It is the most frustrating thing ever. Not the asshole. Do not invite him in. It may strain the friendship for a bit, but it is better than the friend being a burden and straining it for a long time while you grow to resent them. I cannot be comfortable or happy in my home. It will dampen your relationship with your husband. Edited to add. What makes it worse is he wants to move his wife in too. then she gets pregnant, and they will guilt you about putting kids out on the street. You will never get them out. If you try to kick them out, they would try to pull squatters' rights on you and take over while you're stuck footing the bill. Just do not do it. Original poster. Keep your sanity. I was lucky our friend was a single guy, but he latched onto a successful woman and is now living in her place. He is not my problem anymore. Well, until he gets his stuff out, I'm about to pay someone to haul it away and send him the bill. I was going through a rough time with my divorce, and I ended up with a house. Then COVID hit. My buddy, who lived on the other side of the country, received a job opportunity where I was living, his home state. He asked if he could stay with me while he looks for a place for his family, which include his wife and 6 children, including an infant. He told me that he wanted to have a place ready by August so his kids could go to school up here. Since it was only 3 months, June, July, August, I agreed and told him not to worry about rent or anything like that and save it for his new home. I also told him that I would help him look for a new house. He comes up and we go out to pick up some food and walk around. We are chatting and catching up, and he thanks me again for letting him stay. He then offers help with anything, like mowing the yard or shoveling snow. I chuckle and reply that I do not think it will be snowing in August. Now we get into a deeper conversation. Come to find out, he wanted to stay until August of the following year. I told him that was not happening, and I would give him until the end of August like I originally agreed to. Over the next few weeks, he tried to bring his family up to visit and send me to a hotel. That was not happening. Then he tried to convince me that it was too much house for me to live in alone with my pups, and I should rent in the house and find an apartment for myself. That was not happening either. There's a bunch more stuff, worse actually, that made mutual friends cut him off. They were so disgusted by him. He ended up leaving in the middle of the night about 3 weeks into his stay. I never talked to him again. Commenter 4. Okay, so you just got your dream house, and your friends are already asking to move in for a year. That is bold. Look, you're right to feel put off. You have not even had a chance to paint a wall or figure out where the couch goes, and they're already planning their year-long stay. Plus, no mention of rent? Come on, not the asshole for wanting your own space. They are definitely taking advantage, or at least being incredibly inconsiderate. Next story. Am I the asshole for hiding the location of my best friend from my wife? About 5 years ago, I moved about 15 hours away from my hometown for a job. Shortly after moving, I met my now wife, Becca. A few years ago, I had a buddy, JR, from back home come stay with me. While here, he met my wife's sister, Maggie. JR and Maggie hit it off. They pretty quickly started dating. Maggie has a daughter from a previous relationship. The daughter's dad is very much in the picture. Almost a year ago, Maggie and JR moved in together. At the time, Maggie was living with her parents because she could not afford rent on her own. Things seemed to be going well. It is a long story, but almost 2 months ago, JR got pretty irrefutable proof that Maggie was cheating on him. He was angry, depressed, and overall distraught. He could not deal with confronting her, but he also could not deal with living with her. He talked to me and wanted my help to get away. So, I reached out to my network of people who are not mutual friends of Becca and me to get him a place to stay. Becca, Maggie, Maggie's daughter, and my mother-in-law were going out of town to visit my mother-in-law's mom a few weeks after he found out. I had a work friend with a rental house. I helped JR pack his stuff, which was about 90% of the apartment, and he moved out. He sent an email to Maggie about why he moved out. He left a check for rent and utilities through the end of March when their lease is up and informed the landlord that he was not renewing. Maggie got the email and called JR numerous times while on the trip. My wife called me and asked what was going on and where JR was. I told her that JR moved out and he was safe, but I would not tell her where he is. They got back, and Maggie flipped out about all the stuff JR took. My wife was quite angry and demanded to know where JR was. I kept telling her that he is safe, but I am not telling her where he is. The last month has been tense, and my wife has begged and made threats to know where JR is. She has even tried using my phone to impersonate me to call JR and get information. I have since changed my passcode. She says, "We are married. This is affecting my family. I deserve to know." I refuse. She has even talked about this being grounds for divorce. Am I the asshole? Edit. 1. My wife knows that JR left. 2. Maggie has admitted since he left that she was cheating. 3. My wife denies knowing about the cheating, and I do believe her. Historically, Maggie and Becca are not close. Prior to JR moving here, we would see Maggie maybe once every 3 months or so. Since JR moved here, we see her a lot more because JR and I regularly organize get-togethers, which is why my wife's reaction is surprising to me. 4. The stuff JR took was only his stuff. In fact, a lot of stuff he left is also his. Other than gadgets, he left all the kitchen stuff despite it being 100% his. He left all the stuff in my niece's room, even though he paid for a lot of it. Commenter 1. Not the asshole. What does your wife have to say about her sister cheating on your friend? I am more curious why she wants to know where he is so badly. He clearly wants nothing to do with Maggie anymore. Leave the man alone. Why she wants to know? Exactly. Why do they need to know where he is so badly? The wife threatening the original poster? What kind of scheme were they up to? He left a check for his share of the rent. I do not think we have the whole story here, because the sister is claiming he took some other stuff. Probably bogus. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. Maggie has made her bed, and she can lie in it, at least until the eviction notice rolls around. The fact that your wife has a bigger problem with JR leaving Maggie than she does with her sister cheating on JR says an awful lot about your wife. And as a woman myself, it does not say anything good. If your wife chooses to implode your marriage because her sister is a cheater, that is on her. You do not owe Maggie anything. My money is on the wife knowing about the cheating the entire time. And she sounds like the type who believes they can bully people into giving them what she wants so that the situation is fixed in her mind. The original poster is in for a wild ride on this one. Not the asshole. Your loyalty to JR is completely justified, especially since Maggie was the one who betrayed him. Your wife's reaction is concerning. She is prioritizing her sister's feelings over basic fairness. If she is willing to risk your marriage over this, that says more about her than it does about you. Stay firm. Commenter 3. I'm interested in why your wife and Maggie need to know where JR lives. They have broken up. It is over. That is it. As always, the best way to see how you feel about a situation is to turn it around and look at it from other angles. Let us say it was Maggie who moved out with your wife's help. She has ended the relationship and does not want JR to know where she now lives. Now, can we imagine the response if you were pressuring your wife to tell you, and presumably JR, where she was living? Yeah, that would be a big, fat, get the heck out, you jerk. You have got several options. Ask your wife, if the situation were reversed, how she would feel about your pressuring her to give JR Maggie's address. Tell her that JR has moved again and that he has deliberately not told you his new address because he knows your wife is trying to give that information to Maggie. I will be honest, I think that you're learning some really unpleasant things about your wife. Attitudes toward cheating, attitudes toward domestic violence, attitudes toward your autonomy. I would be very tempted to see if JR has a spare bedroom you can stay in. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Maggie is looking for JR, but the only thing she is likely to find is a restraining order and possibly a night in jail. She does not want JR under the terms that JR wants her, but she does not want to let go of JR, so it is about control, and not in a good way. JR is a big boy. He knows Maggie's phone number. Wash your hands of it, original poster, and your wife should do the same. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. Does not the reason JR left matter to your wife? Apparently not. Yes, it is affecting her sister, but mostly financially. If she is not working, she needs to find a job and maybe move back with her parents until she can find another place to live. JR and Maggie were not married, so no divorce. Maggie and your wife just want to harangue the poor guy or guilt trip him into giving Maggie money. Forget that. And if your wife thinks divorcing you will solve her cheating sister's problems, she has another thing coming. Commenter 5. Not the asshole. If this is the issue your wife is wanting to divorce over, then you should get a lawyer on retainer. Your friend has a right to be safe. Edit. If your wife is willing to use your phone to find your friend, she will use a tracker device to find where you go. Be very careful. Next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to meet the biological child I do not claim? When I, 28-year-old male, was 16, I was groomed and later sexually assaulted by today's standards by my manager, a 23-year-old female at the time. She had gotten pregnant. Now that child has reached out to me. It has gotten to the point that they are stalking me online. The mother contacted my girlfriend, who is rightfully upset. It feels like they took away our safety. I have become paranoid in public. Everyone that I talk to about this, including my boss, since he noticed my work has been slacking, has told me that I owe this child a meeting. That every child has the right to know who their parents are. I disagree. I wanted nothing to do with that child when I was 16 and still do not want to be involved. My girlfriend thinks if I met him, all this would be over. I think they will want more from me. I feel like this makes me an asshole since I also never financially provided and most likely will not. I want this to stop. Update. To start, I was not and still am not in the right headspace to revisit trauma that occurred 12 years ago. I also know that there are freaks who only want more details about the sexual assault or rape to fantasize about. To clarify, I grew up in a Catholic household, the fourth child out of 12. Being born a male man at 16, it was required by my parents that I get a job to help financially put food on the table. At 16, we, siblings, were taught abstinence until marriage. That any sexual act violates our body and breaks the trust and bond toward our future spouse in the eyes of God, which is why I never proposed to my girlfriend. We were never taught to not trust adults. Our parents failed to teach us consent, power dynamics, and grooming tactics. I was a prime target. The grooming started with attention I liked as I did not get it from home, positive affirmations about my work. Soon there were friendly lunches. To me at 16, we were friends eating lunch together. Nothing strange. She gifted me clothing. That is when I felt uncomfortable. The clothes stayed in my closet until one of my siblings started wearing them. Nobody in my household questioned where the clothes came from. I tried to make excuses as to why I could not be alone with her. I have too much work right now. Eventually, she called me into her office and asked if I knew the age of consent. I did not. 16 is the answer. She admitted to being attracted to me, that if I was to keep being a man and providing for my family, I would do as she instructed. I did not say no or fight back. I was scared of losing my job. I was terrified of my parents finding out. I blamed myself for having my virginity stolen. We now know that cases of sexual assault and rape are difficult to prosecute. The victim's testimony is what matters the most. I was a male, so I had that against me. I did not fight back or say no. Clearly, that means I wanted it, right? I wanted to brag to my peers. What peers? My siblings? Other children that attended the church? About bagging some hot 23-year-old that I worked for? Society 12 years ago viewed male victims differently than they do now. The guilt of sinning had eaten at me. I went to confession and told everything. I was told by the church to remain hushed. I was silent for 12 years. Now my parents know, and they resent me for denying them a relationship with their grandchild. My siblings want to stay away from their children. I asked my girlfriend for space, so she is not a casualty in my terrible trauma. My boss reached out and apologized for what he had said in the moment. He thought about it and realized that he may have negatively affected me. He also offered to pay for my mental health care at the really nice facility he found that specializes in rape trauma. He reassured me that my job with his company is secure. I may take his offer. Reading some of these comments, I realized that I'm not okay. I also reached out to my cousin's wife, a divorce lawyer. She says if I take any legal action, the outcome may not be what anyone wants. The word would get out, and that child will also be known as having a child rapist for a mother along with a dad who left them. She's preparing medical records to send over and a verbal warning about the online stalking. I do not know who is behind the screen, a tech-savvy 11 or 12-year-old wanting answers, or her using this opportunity to victimize me again. Either way, no matter what I choose, I will be considered an asshole with trauma, and that child will have some sort of trauma as well. Commenter 1. Original poster. This comment section is a mixed bag. Here is my take. Lock down your entire online persona. Every single account. Set them all to private or friends only. Comb through your friends' list and followers. Remove anyone you do not know personally. You want to have your entire online presence be that of a silhouette, there but difficult to see the details of. Make it as hard as possible for them to see any details about you, except for your name. I remember how it felt. Edit. Thank you for the awards and upvotes, everyone. I agree completely with all said here, except I would add one thing. Give the kid your or your family's medical history. None of this is their fault either, and it is something that might actually save their life one day. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. If it is something you cannot emotionally handle in person, then she has to accept it. You have the option of contacting a family lawyer for legal guidance. If there is no court order, then you do not owe any child support, but if the attorney sends a cease and desist letter, it could motivate them to go to court. Pressing charges for the assault could still be on the table too. An attorney can answer a lot of your questions and hopefully put you a little more at ease. It is an unhappy situation that never should have come to be. Edited to add, I receive an award. I'm not sure what they are for, but thank you. Great post. I would also consider getting therapy to help you work through this. Not the asshole. See, I'm a nasty person, so I would reply back to the mother and ask her if she really wants her child to be told that the original poster wants nothing to do with a child conceived from his mother raping a child. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. This was not a consensual relationship. You have every right to refuse contact, and it is honestly disturbing that people expect you to just accept this forced connection. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. The child is what? 10? 11? Tops 12? They are not stalking you. Their parent is. The child did not reach out to you. The parent did. This is using the child as a lure or bait to reconnect for more coercive control. I would take out a restraining order against the mother, and I would point out that the child is evidence of statutory rape, if this exists in your local legal situation, and clearly it is best if she just leaves you alone. Commenter 5. Not the asshole. Why in the world are you telling your boss about this, though? Stop telling people, and do not give her a single red cent. If the original poster works the same job, the boss might know the former manager. Unfortunately, maybe, but I would still want to keep something like this to myself because people are going to have certain thoughts about it. Though I doubt he is working at the same place at age 28 that he was when he was 16. I'm guessing the boss questioned why his work was suffering lately. If it were me, I would have just said personal issues but would not have gone into detail. Unfortunately, some people do not think men can be sexually assaulted by women. And some people might hear his explanation and think he is just using it as an excuse to get out of being a parent. Only those close to him will know him well enough to know that is not the case. Next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my cousin name her baby after me because of a family prophecy? I, 23-year-old female, have a cousin, Lila, 25-year-old female, who is very into family lore, spiritual omens, and old prophecies that have been passed down through our great-grandmother's side. Most of the time, I just go along with it because it is harmless, stuff like never plant rosemary on a full moon or our bloodline has a connection to the ocean. Weird, but whatever. Well, now she is pregnant, and things have gotten intense. Last week, she announced that she wants to name her daughter after me. I was flattered at first and asked why she chose my name. That is when she got all serious and said, "Because you are the chosen one." Excuse me? She explained that according to a family prophecy, a girl born into our bloodline with my name would have a great spiritual awakening, unlock ancient family powers, and become the protector of our lineage. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She was not. She said she felt her baby was meant to be the true heir to the prophecy, and by giving her my name, she could absorb my connection to whatever mystical forces our great-grandmother supposedly tapped into. Then she got weirdly intense and said, "I need you to release the name to her." I asked what that meant, and she said that for the magic to work, I needed to stop using my name and let it fully belong to her daughter. I was like, "Lila, you want me to give up my own name?" She nodded and said I could pick a new one, something neutral and mundane, so I would not compete for the energy. I thought this was absolutely insane and told her, "Hell no. My name is my name." She got really upset and said I was being selfish with my spiritual destiny and that I should be honored that her child was meant to fulfill the prophecy. Now, some family members who are also into the whole mysticism thing are saying I should at least consider it because this is bigger than me and the prophecy has never been wrong before. I honestly do not care if the kid gets magical powers or not. I am not renaming myself just so her baby can have full access to the family spirits or whatever. Am I the asshole for refusing to give up my name? Commenter 1. Not the asshole. Tell her you are indeed the chosen one. And if she tries to steal your power, you will curse her and all her descendants. I know this is probably a joke, but this actually might be the only answer Lila accepts. I would go hard on being the chosen one every time I saw her. Can I please have someone make the same announcement in my family? I hate my name. I always have. But I would look foolish and immature to change it now, just because I hate it. First of all, I am 42. Second of all, my name is Karen. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. This is insane. I feel like I just read a dream I had. Keep your name. She can name her baby something else. That is crazy, dude. You will not be so flippant when the baby grins evilly and her head turns 180 degrees, will you? I would not notice. I am pretty sure at least one of my kids did that, and they were not in some chosen prophecy, whatever you call it. They were just part demon. Commenter 3. This is the third crazy spiritual, outrageous ass post I have seen. Someone is feeding weird prompts. The others were about ancient sourdough and co-worker shadow healing. A new troll has arrived. At least it is not a fetish post, I guess. Or about the seed on a plane. Or about wearing white to somebody's wedding. Or about a stepmom demanding to erase the mom. Commenter 4. Lila, as you have stated, I am the chosen one. By trying to change this, you are now at risk. I warn you, by attempting to usurp for me the status of chosen one, there will be cosmic consequences while raising your hands from a hip, tipping your head back, eyes closed, and said in a softly ominous tone. Not the asshole. Your cousin is interesting. Next story. Am I the asshole for not letting my pregnant sister sleep in my bed? I, 26, male, rent a small 2-bedroom apartment. I live alone, but I use the second bedroom as my office because I work from home full-time. My older sister, Lily, 31, female, is 6 months pregnant and soon to be a single mother. She has some issues with her apartment, in a disagreement with her landlord, and in the process of moving out. So she asked if she could stay with me for a few weeks. Of course, I said yes, and that I would be happy to accommodate her for as long as she needs. She moved in last weekend, and the first thing she did when settling was point toward my bed and say, "I will take this one." I laughed, thinking she was joking. Only later in the evening, when I asked her if she needed anything else before going to bed, did she mention that she was not joking about wanting to sleep in my bed. Now, I'm a little bit of germaphobe, and I am quite uncomfortable with the idea of other people sleeping in my bed. I told her that I'm uncomfortable letting anyone else sleep in my bed, but I will gladly set her up with my guest bed, which I did use to sleep on before buying my current bed, and I know for a fact is very comfortable and spacious. Then she started guilt-tripping me, saying that since she got pregnant, she's been having problems falling asleep and that she needs the bigger, more comfortable bed. I stood my ground and told her I was happy to accommodate her, but I was not giving up my bedroom. She sulked, but she took the guest bed. That lasted exactly 2 nights before she started complaining that the bed was too stiff and that she could not sleep. I offered to buy a new mattress topper, but she refused. Instead, she tried to pull the "you are my brother, you should want to make me comfortable" guilt trip again. I told her that she's lucky I can even take her in, since I work 10 hours a day from home, and I do value having a work environment that is private, calm, and quiet. She called me selfish and accused me of not caring about her or her baby. I told her she could take the couch if the guest bed was that unbearable. Well, she did, but exactly for 1 night before turning into an absolute menace. On the second night on the couch, she made sure to sigh loudly all night, accidentally bump into things, and complain the next morning about how horrible I was making her feel. The following day, she kept making calls and talking loudly on the phone while I was working. I did not pay attention to the actual calls and what she was saying, but later it became very clear. In the evening, I started getting phone calls from most, if not all, my family members. Apparently, she was ranting all day on the phone to my family about how rude and how horrible I was making her feel, trying to make my family put pressure on me just to let her sleep in my bed like she is on a mission or something. My mom took her side and tore me a new one on the phone, saying that Lily is carrying a child and I am being inconsiderate. She also said, "I thought I taught you better hospitality than this." I am very disappointed. My aunt called to tell me that my uncle, her husband, used to sleep on the couch and sometimes on the floor next to her when she was pregnant. Even my cousin, who I have not spoken to in like 2 years, called to tell me I am being selfish. My father is taking my side, telling me to ignore them, and that my sister is a fuck up that she got in that situation in the first place. But I feel like my mom is giving him a super hard time in the background, because he did sound kind of hesitant when I asked him to have my back. Honestly, I'm just feeling like I am in the middle of a soap opera drama. My mom is threatening to come take Lily home. Yeah, like that is much of a threat, haha, but she is giving me such a hard time and telling me I disappointed her and that she raised me better. I do not know how to feel about this anymore. Am I the asshole for not letting my pregnant sister sleep in my bed? Update. Am I the asshole for not letting my pregnant sister sleep in my bed? First of all, I want to thank you guys for the overwhelming support. This blew up way beyond anything I expected. Wow. I really appreciate you all for taking the time to chime in and share your opinions. You guys really helped reassure me and gave me confidence in my own feelings that my private space has been disrespected and, quite frankly, violated. I would like to answer a few common questions I saw in the comments. The guest bed is in the living room. It is stored in the second bedroom, my office, but whenever I have a guest, I set it up in the living room. The living room space is quite big and can comfortably fit the guest bed, couch, and living room table as well. My parents live a 4.5-hour drive away, and they're the closest family members to my apartment. That is why I did not initially think of suggesting anyone come and pick up Lily to take her to their place. I, in fact, did not get my sister pregnant. What the fuck, guys? Laughing out loud. Lily is moving out of her current apartment because it is being sold, and the new owners are not sure if they want to keep renting it or what to charge exactly. So that is why she is moving out. Anyway, here's the update. My mother made the drive over yesterday. She came in quite furious, barely said a word to me, and wanted to just take Lily and leave as soon as possible. She had that cold, disappointed look on her face. It broke my heart, honestly. I told them, Lily and my mother, that I wanted to talk and explain my side of the story. I told them both that I did not want them to leave on bad terms. I sat them down in the living room and explained my side of things. I also decided to show them the original post, and it did help calm them down and made them second-guess their opinions. Also, I did believe they were quite embarrassed, judging by the looks on their faces when I showed them the post, to see everything written out like that, but they did not dare to say a word about it, laughing out loud. In the end, they both agreed that my apartment is my personal space and also my workplace, and they understood why it was difficult for me to give up my bed. It was not totally smooth, though. They still gave me a bit of a hard time, saying that while they do understand my side now, I could have still been the bigger person and just let Lily sleep in my bed. At least they did drop the whole, "you're selfish" act. As for the rest of the family, I demanded that my sister call each and every one of them to let them know my side and calm them down. Lily was reluctant at first, but my mother gave her the look, and eventually she came around and told me she would do it on the drive back to my parents. I was honestly surprised she agreed. My aunt even called me today to apologize. That was definitely unexpected and very satisfying, haha. Lily is now staying with my parents. And honestly, I would not be surprised if I get a call in a few weeks with them ranting about her being entitled in their house. Haha. I cannot wait to see how they will handle that one. Hopefully, this is the last time I will have to deal with this. Lily still needs to move her stuff from her old apartment, which is a 30-minute drive from me, so I know she's going to ask for my help. Not that I would mind. I would be happy to help her, but I am worried she might want to come stay at my place again or use my place to store some of her stuff. Also, she might bring this whole thing up again, and I could not be bothered to deal with it once again. That is a problem for another day, though hopefully not, ha ha ha. So, in the end, I believe it turned out the best way possible, and I have you guys to thank for that. Seriously, I appreciate each and every one of you who took the time to comment on my original post. Thank you. Commenter 1. Not the asshole. Tell your sister. Your mom has offered to let you stay, so pack your bags if the guest bed is uncomfortable. Everyone who has called, call them back and ask when they intend to pick up your sister to stay with them. No ifs punto. Just tell her to pack up because she is staying with mom and dad now. Commenter 2. Get her out of your house as soon as possible. You're going to end up with her in your room, the baby in the guest room, and you're going to be sleeping on the couch. Check your lease and tenancy laws. Do not let her use your address for mail. Seriously, get her out before she gives birth. Ship her off to mom. Did not even think of it that way, but it is the most realistic outcome. Ouch. If she has a key and does not give it back, change locks too. Commenter 3. I offered you a place to live, and you have returned that favor by turning a bunch of flying monkeys on me, so you can steal my bed on top of the rest of my home. You are disrupting my work and my life. I expect you to be out tomorrow. Maybe one of your flying monkeys will take you in. Not the asshole. Commenter 4. My mom is threatening to come take Lily home. Yeah, like that is much of a threat. Haha, but she's giving me such a hard time and telling me I disappointed her and that she raised me better. Not the asshole. And I would just say, oh, sure, that is a perfect plan. You can come tomorrow and pick her up and take her home. I am sure she will be much more comfortable there than at my place. Why did you not offer this before? Knowing how small my place was and knowing that conflicts would happen. But yeah, go ahead and pick her up, because if she continues to disturb my work, well, I do not know how long she can stay in this house in general. Commenter 5. So, naturally, your sister will be sleeping in your parents' bed, right? You know, since mom does not think it is a big deal. Okay, all kidding aside, you handled this perfectly. You are not the asshole then, and you're still not the asshole. Of course she will. She is pregnant and needs the big bed. Maybe mom and dad will sleep on the floor this time around. Realistically, since she is pregnant, she probably needs the entire house, so it would be best if they just moved into an apartment for a while. Next story. Am I the asshole for telling my husband to just be a father? I had a play date with my friend this morning with our babies, and my little one napped in the car on the ride home. So I stopped for coffee to extend her nap. She napped from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., and she was fed at 9:20 a.m. before I left the play date. I get home, and my husband immediately tries feeding her. I tell him she just woke up from a nap, and she is probably not hungry because she just ate before it. He said he knows his baby and tries to feed her anyway. She fusses and arches her back because she is not hungry. He says it is because we have the wrong nipple size. I begin to explain to him our current routine I have been doing with her while he is at work. I'm still on maternity leave. She wakes up, she plays for around an hour and a half, then eats and goes down for a nap. He says, nonsense, she is probably tired, and goes to lay her down for a nap. It has only been 45 minutes since I've been home. I tell him, no, she's not tired enough for a nap yet. She's just going to fuss. She's started to understand that crib means sleep and fights it hard if she's not tired enough. Sure enough, she starts crying as soon as they step foot in the nursery. This is where the argument comes. He tells me I'm being controlling and not letting him be a dad. I tell him I'm just trying to help him and give him pointers because every week is different with a baby that small. He tells me I'm being a helicopter parent. I tell him I'm just trying to help, as he always complains that his daughter thinks he is a stranger because he is working all day. He only works 4 days a week, by the way. I left to run errands and left it with the baby to bond and stuff. He starts texting me while I am out. Tell me when to feed her and put her down. She is crying. Should I do it now or later? When is her nap time? She will not stop crying. What does she need? Actual copy and paste for my messages. I can tell this is condescending, and he is doing it to be petty. I text out a long rant that I am just trying to help him so he does not have a hard time with her, because he gets very discouraged when she is super fussy with him, and I try to be the bigger person and emphasize that my help comes out of a place of love. And after my long, heartfelt message that is way too long to copy and paste here, I get this. Is it okay to put her to bed? When is her nap time? How can I tell if she is tired? Now I am mad at this point and tell him to stop being a jackass and that I am not arguing with him. I get home, and the baby wakes up from a nap, and he comes out with her and says, what do I do now? What does she need? Should I change her first? Should I feed her? At this point, I'm seeing red, but just stays silent, and he keeps going and starts poking me. I tell him to just go be a fucking father. He will not stop telling me how controlling I am and will not let him be a dad. I am like, dude, I was just trying to let you know what I noticed is currently working for our daughter. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Update. Thank you all for your responses. I definitely will be taking a huge step back and looking at the way I'm handling things as well. As I type this, he is up with the baby for the day, and I'm still lying in bed. He is a great dad, and I'm going to give him the chance to be that. Update 2. The fight took place yesterday, and I forgot to change the verbiage because I wrote it out in my notes for the character count. This morning and last night, He took the baby and is actively with her and playing with her while I get ready to go out for some self-care today. Last and disappointing update. I tried apologizing to him, and he told me he does not want my apologies because he feels they are empty and that I apologize too much, but I actually mean them and just know when I'm being rude and can apologize for a lot more. And in turn, I said, "You do not feel the need to apologize for the way you treated me last night?" And he did not say anything, so marriage counseling it is, I guess. Commenter 1. I recently heard someone say this to a new mom. Do not be the expert on your baby. You will be the expert on your kid forever. The school will call you to pick them up. You will be the one who plans their birthday parties, who plans their meals because you know what they eat and what not. You will be the one who knows when they have gym class and which present they want for Christmas. If you tell your partner that he is already falling behind on kid knowledge now, he will let go and never pick it up again. Yes, he will do things differently, and he will do things wrong according to your schedule. But as long as he is not hurting your child, you should shut up and let him get to know his child, build his own routine with her. I see your point, but no one wants to listen to a baby crying or see them clearly resisting feeding or nap. She is allowed to tell him, hey, we just did those, and I would think he could take that information and do something else with the baby. Providing info about when the baby last ate or napped is very different from telling someone that everything they are doing is wrong. Fucking thank you. I am going nuts seeing these comments. They're telling her she is overstepping for giving him information about when the baby last ate or napped. When you drop your kid off at daycare, with professionals who deal with babies all day long, they also ask you when your baby last ate. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. I do not get how people are saying you suck too. Not listening to the parent who is just with the child and knows what the child needs / usually does at that time is stubborn, stupid, and the baby is the one that suffers. Not terribly, of course, but moms are hardwired to respond to a baby's distress. So yeah, when you hear her crying / being upset over something avoidable, you're going to try to correct it or even prevent it. Like, that makes complete sense. Most people hear the baby already ate and go, oh, okay, so she will not be hungry. Let's do something else. Or hear that she just woke up and think, gotcha, she will not be sleepy then. And this is an issue when trying to get her down. I do not understand his resistance to factual statements. If it was getting too much for him, asking you gently to back off because it makes him feel condescended to, like an adult, would be the way to go, not texting you mockery until you're seeing red for checks notes, knowing your child. I'm not saying stay mad or anything, but I think you two need a serious sit down about where his resistance to your help is coming from. We know you're hovering / helicoptering, even though I really do just think you're being a mom, comes from observing little one and knowing what works for her and wanting things to be easier on him. We do not know why listening to you is an issue for him when you are the one primarily with the baby. That is going to be the root of your issue. Thank you. She did not know the baby was not hungry or tired because she was the mom. She knew because she had just fed her and watched her nap. She was not trying to be superior. She just had facts relevant to the situation. He acted like a passive-aggressive ass. He obviously feels left out, so the two of you need to have a chat about what each of you wants / need going forward. I do think it is good for the other parent to struggle to find out what works for them, even though the other could just take over and do it with less fuss. Commenter 3. You need to communicate what the baby has had as soon as you are back in the same room as him. So, like a nursery handover, she had her last bottle at 9 a.m. and then slept from 9:45 a.m. to 11 a.m. or whatever. Then the other parent can make informed decisions. Otherwise, it just becomes one parent saying, no, not that, every time the other suggests something. That is number one. So you're not always answering with a negative, however well meant. I found a good response was, you could try it. It lets the other parent learn the trial and error way, the same as the default parent. Otherwise, they will not learn. Commenter 4. Are people missing that he messaged you antagonistically over and over and over when you left to de-escalate? He took your advice as helicoptering, so you responded to his feelings and left the house so he could do his thing without you there advising. And not only does he not let go of the conflict while you were gone, he starts physically invading your space and poking you to continue antagonizing you when you got home. And all of that because you brief him on where your baby was at in her day, so he could pick up where you left off instead of frustrating her with unwanted feeding and nappy. Ing? Of course, not the asshole. I think he clearly has some simmering resentment about working while you're on maternity leave and is letting it come out over silly things. I certainly hope he has never been physically aggressive before and never is again, because that sends up major red flags to me.